we're gonna make a boating video, okay? Goose, where are you going? Goose! Come back! Really? Come on, Goose! Don't run away, Goose. It'll be fun to make a video. Oh well. Goose, what about if we gave you a starring role in this video? No?
Hi, I'm Doug.
And I'm Susie.
Thanks for joining us today. This is part 2 of our 2024 Farthest North trip. Part 1 covered our travel from the San Juan Islands to Laura Cove, British Columbia. We ended up spending 3 days in Laura Cove to wait out a rainstorm. But the scenery at Laura Cove was incredible once the weather cleared. So in today's video, we're going to show you our journey from Laura Cove, continuing north to Turnbull Cove, and then back to our home port of Everett, Washington. We hope you enjoy it.
So as we traveled from Laura Cove to Turnbull Cove, we had nice, calm weather. It was an 18-mile cruise, and we saw some more whales along the trip. We also saw several natural carvings in the cliff sides, and it resembled faces. So we dubbed this the Faces of the Broughtons. And as we approached Turnbull Cove, there were several narrow passages and a lot of debris, like large logs that were floating in the water. So we stayed on alert during that time.
And Turnbull Cove is a very large, protected, and was uncrowded anchorage when we were there. And this is the farthest point north we reached on our trip. As a matter of fact, it was within 2 miles of where our insurance coverage ends. So in the future, if we end up going farther north, we'll need to change our coverage.
While we were anchored one evening, we noticed a group of dinghies rafted together and having a good time. So we hopped in our dinghy and caught up with them for happy hour cocktails. They were a group of boaters from a fellow yacht club that were traveling together. They welcomed us right in, and we had a fun evening with them. Another fun trip we took out of Turnbull was the hike up to a freshwater lake. It was a short hike, but definitely uphill to get there, where we all went swimming, even Goose, in the lake. So that was very fun.
Our next cruise was a very short 6-mile run from Turnbull Cove to Sullivan Bay Marina. Sullivan Bay Marina is very unique. It's an entire town that is built on floating docks, including the dog relief area. We were able to knock the dust off our golf swings as they offered you a chance to hit a floating green to win a night's moorage. We didn't win, but we came close and we had fun trying.
Nice try, you skipped it.
Nice! Oh! Yo! Oh, that was awesome!
There were homes in this town with seaplanes flying in and out, and it was a busy area. We had amazing fishing again, getting our limits on king salmon. And our visit there coincided nicely because the boat arrived with a fresh stock of fresh vegetables. So that was a real treat. We also caught the last prime rib dinner that they serve of the season. This is a must-do if you stop by there. It's wonderful camaraderie with the other boaters, and the food was delicious. We highly recommend it.
Our next stop was Port Neville. This was a 50 nautical mile cruise away. The weather started out pretty rainy, but once we cleared and moved out of Queen Charlotte Strait and into Johnstone Strait, the weather cleared up. We did see a large pod of killer whales on this leg of the trip, and they were performing for other boats, but we weren't sure of what the winds were going to be like in Johnstone Strait, so we didn't stop for pictures. We ended up timing the weather nicely with following winds and seas, and so I was able to utilize our Star Lake and watch my college football team play a game. Go Bobcats.
We and some new friends that we had met along the way, we were lucky enough to find space at the government dock. It was easy shore access, and we were able to exercise our dogs on the grounds and have them go swimming. Plus, it was a worry-free night of being tied to a dock.
Next up was heading back to Gowland Harbor near the Campbell River. The weather was foggy on this leg of the trip. Some people actually refer to August as Farthest in the Inside Passage. Luckily, our GPS and radar performed flawlessly. We traveled through the Seymour Narrows, which can be pretty rough, but we hit the rapids during slack tide and it was no problem. Gowland Harbor is a familiar stop to us, and we've stopped here many times when we're in this area. We did, for the first time, however, experience some very strong winds from the north, and it ended up kicking up the water pretty good in the bay. It was actually rougher in the bay than outside in the strait. So take note of this if selecting an anchoring location in the bay.
While we were anchored in Gowland Harbor, we were able to secure marina reservations. So we zipped across Discovery Passage to the Discovery Bay Marina for a night. We hadn't been able to obtain reservations at this marina in the past and wanted to check it out. As a reminder, this marina is very close to stores in Campbell River and is an excellent location for provisioning, fuel, and restaurants. We have more specifics in our previous video, but I do recommend trying to get reservations ahead of time if you're planning to stop here.
Our next day of cruising was the longest of the trip, almost 100 miles to Montague Harbor. 100 miles at hopefully 10 knots makes for a long day at sea. Most boaters cruise, when they cruise this direction, cruise through Nanaimo and Dodds Narrows, but we prefer a straight run down the Strait of Georgia if the weather cooperates. Another aspect that needs to be considered on this run is Whiskey Gulf. Whiskey Gulf's a Canadian naval operation area right outside of Nanaimo, and they use it for military maneuvers and torpedo practicing. If the area is in use, then all of us recreational boaters must alter our course to avoid the area. Luckily, the area wasn't in use, so we were able to take a direct route through the Strait of Georgia and not add any more miles to the trip. The weather was excellent, although we did hear a few hours north of us some boats that I think had left later that ended up having to turn around, so we're glad that we left early. We spotted whales again, but again, no time to dawdle. There was a lot of congestion, ferries, cruise ships around the Nanaimo area, but other than that, it was a very calm, peaceful cruise. Once we reached Montague, we were surprised at how full the bay was. Maybe we got spoiled by the uncrowded anchorage areas to the north, but this was the busiest we've ever seen this bay. Regardless, there's room at all times, I think, for as many boats as want to anchor there.
From Montague Harbor, we went to Hunter Bay, which is about 38 nautical miles. We cruised by Friday Harbor as it's a Nexus reporting station, and we were cleared as we were driving by. But during the clearing process, I learned we were not allowed to bring raw eggs into the U.S. But luckily, I did have some on board, but I had disclosed them and they let me cook them up right then and there. So we were able to continue on to Hunter Bay. It's good to always check and be current with the border rules and regulations. This year, they also implemented some new dog screening requirements. So just for you to be aware of that. Hunter Bay is one of our favorite stops, and this year they had excellent crabbing. Delicious.
From Hunter Bay, all that was left was to cruise back to our home port in Everett, Washington. We again had excellent weather. We planned our trip to navigate Deception Pass near slack time. Once docked in our slip in Everett, all that was left was cleaning up the boat for the winter, conducting any maintenance needed, and smoking up and vacuum sealing the salmon from the trip.
Being back in the home port, we had time to visit with family and friends, and now we started planning for our 2025 cruising season. We're planning to go even farther north, so please subscribe to our YouTube video, and our videos get better with each time we're doing them. Later from the Phoenix.
Wait, did Goose ever return? I have an idea.
Goose, you want a treat? Good boy. Sit. Wave goodbye to everybody. Good boy.